think we just need to be grateful to the Almighty God. And I'll ask one of the participants to open the meeting with a prayer. Is that going to be David or who's this?
Let us pray. Father, Lord in heaven, we want to thank you for a gift of a new day. We want to thank you for the gift of life. Lord, we want to thank you for this gathering. We want to thank you for all that we have been able to accomplish so far, and what we are going to accomplish in this workshop. We dedicate this day to you and ask you to prevail and help us to disseminate what we have disseminated. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen. My name, probably I'll just mention, my name is Marie Bravier. I'm affiliated to ICE. And I think today marks the last day of this meeting. What is one thing you wish to accomplish today? I know you've done a lot in the last 2 days, but think of at the end of the day, what one thing you think this meeting has accomplished. And let's just reflect upon that. So we are moving now we are done with the recap. We are moving to the session that starts 9:15 to is a 1-hour one. The topic for this session reads Enhancing the Generation, Synthesis, and Uptake of Evidence and Relevant Research for East African Horticulture Sector. Hello, I can hear some. Okay, thank you. So, enhancing the generation, synthesis, and uptake of evidence and relevant research for East African horticultural sector. Now we have very good, very rich panelists for this session, and the session is going to be moderated by Dr. R.C. Okello from Makerere University. So I'll ask Dr. Okello to come forward and then request welcome, Doctor. And then I'll request the other panelists, beginning with Professor Jane Amboko, who is the head of agriculture at the University of Nairobi. Applause to Jane. The next is Dr. Excuse me if I don't say the name right, Dr. Selamawit Ketema, Head of Horticultural Research, EIAR Medicasa, Ethiopia. And finally we have Dr. Caroline Nankinga, Assistant Commissioner, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Uganda.
Moderator-in-Chief, thank you for giving us the opportunity to go through this session. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name's, I think some parts have been kept classified, so I'll mention all of them. I'm called Okello Robert Cyrus Ongom, but I prefer the name Okello. I work with Makerere University. I teach horticulture, but I also work as a director for the Makerere University Agricultural Research Institute in Kavanyoro. So I'm really happy to be here. Panelists, I'll request you to just say something that maybe has not been mentioned, I know two people have been here before, so maybe Professor Ambuko, something?
Something like?
Something that is not on Google.
Everything is on Google. Yeah, but I think I hadn't been introduced. Dr. Marie said I'm head of agriculture, but basically is head of a unit called horticulture, which is under the Faculty of Agriculture. And yesterday, Wambui said she's a pest for food waste. And I think I'm the second pest. Yeah, on matters food loss and food waste. And I hope we know the difference between food loss and food waste. If you don't know, please let's consult there, because food loss and food waste are two different things. And I'm a pest of both, the loss and the waste.
All right, thank you, Professor Ambuko. Yeah? If I make a mistake, alert me, please, on the names. Dr. Selamawit, do you want to say something that is not known about you, or since you were here yesterday, and also Dr. Caroline, you want to say something before we start off? So everything is already known about Dr. Selamawit and Dr. Nanchinga. Today's topic has to do with enhancing the generation, synthesis, and uptake of evidence-based and relevant research for the East African horticulture sector. So with the aim of developing it. I'll start off by talking about research. We know what it is. We're basically looking for the unknown truth. Yeah, but in Africa we have a difficult situation. We're actually very many in terms of numbers. We make up about 18% of the world population. I think that's about 1.2 billion people. And I've been told that the human brain is approximately 1.2 kilograms. So I'll assume 1 kilogram. So we have 1.2 billion kilograms of brain matter in Africa, but we only contribute about 1% of the research output. It's tough. It's really tough. Yeah, we need to pull up our socks. Now, for the horticulture sector, innovation is really important. For us to move forward, we really need new ideas. Every year, we need something new. The private sector needs to optimize their production system. They need to bring in new products. So research is really key. Actually, the very successful research companies normally have an R&D department. So research is really key. It gives people a really advantage in all parts of the horticulture value chain. Think of inputs, you need new varieties. You think of production, you need to cut down on your costs. If you're to grow tomatoes, I don't know if it's known in Kenya, how many liters you need to produce 1 kilogram of tomato fruit. If you know that, then for sure you'll cut down on your costs. When it comes to post-harvest handling, you need some tricks to keep your produce for a long time. When it comes to marketing, you need new strategies. Consumption, you need some data to convince your consumers to eat more fruits and vegetables, for example. So research is really, really important. The problem we are going to deal with today is that there is actually a whole world between what is happening in the research community in East Africa and what the private sector needs. So there is a very big gap, and it leads to actually very low uptake of whatever is being done in terms of research. So what we are going to do in this session, we will be looking for those things that hinder the generation of ideas that are needed by the private sector. And what should we do to solve this situation? So this is the thing that we are going to to be discussing. Now, I'll start off with the panelists. I'll divert a bit, and I'll be asking you, in your research institutions, what is trending in terms of research? You'd like to go first? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Research in Ethiopia is mainly supported by the government. So the government sets the priority in each program for vegetable, fruits, herbs, the root crops. So depending on the priority based on the nutrition of the crop or the income on the government millennium agenda. Based on that, there is a priority for in each program. So it's supported by that, and the major priority is in the variety development, but we are in interdisciplinary team. There is pathologists, entomologists, in value addition, technology promotion, economists. We are working together with them.
Okay, thank you so much. Professor Ambuko. Thank you.
Ambuko. Yes. Okay, so what is trending? That is so relative, so dependent. But like she said, if you had, during the discussions we've had all through, there's some keywords that are coming, and I've had her mention issues of value addition. It's not trending just at the university, in our research institution, but even the county governments are talking about this. So there's an effort to see how do we value add. Horticultural produce is very highly perishable. Yes, so there's a lot of talk about value addition as a solution, not only to empower women and youth, but also, of course, address the problem of full loss and waste, and the fact that it gives opportunity to grow rural areas, agro-industries. So it's a big thing, the whole thing with value addition. And again, one other thing you've had in this room, issues of cold chain. Yeah, so everybody's talking about cold chain. Sometimes I don't know if we even understand what cold chain is about. Because sometimes people are talking about cold chain, it's trending. But do we know what cold chain is? Cold chain is not just about the technology, it's a whole system. Yes, so but cold chain is trending in research, in counties, at national government. Cold chain is trending. Agroecology, organic farming, because people are keen on the food they're eating. People want to eat safe food, because in Kenya people are talking about, because the rise of cancer is being linked to the use of pesticides, and people are not observing the good practices in use of these chemicals. So yes, there's again, we don't have data to back this up, but there's a connection that the reason we have all these cancer cases is because the people in the horticulture sector are killing us by using these chemicals. So people are, the issue of going back to our traditional veggies and fruits that don't need a lot of inputs, and also better use of low input horticulture, so that we don't have food that is going to kill us. So those are there are many things trending, but those are the quick ones I could think about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. What's trending in Uganda, I hold two hats, Minister of Agriculture and Narrow Research. So what's trending in Uganda now is agro-industrialization. Whatever we do in research, we have to see that we are industrializing agriculture. And our agro-industrialization program in the government under NDP3 is looking at the whole value chain of many agricultural commodities, not only horticulture. So whatever research you have to do, you have to make sure you're increasing production, you have to generate technologies which are going to improve post-harvest handling, you have to generate technologies which are going to improve primary processing, secondary processing, until the market. And we are being now told or emphasized that whatever you are going to research, you start with the market, then you work backwards. So that is the trend in Uganda, and everybody is trying to align him or herself to do that research.
All right, thank you, panelists. What I see coming out clearly is that there is a focus on income and also nutrition security, and I think the governments are also now getting interested. I think our discussion has been on the private sector, but what is emerging is that government has interest, and it is also influencing what is happening in terms of research. So what I see as trending, variety development. I will ask the private sector to confirm. So we'll wait for their opinion. Things to do with pests and diseases. That is trending. Value addition and agro-industrialization. So processing is really coming out clearly, and also protecting the produce in terms of the cold chain. That is also trending. Organic farming is coming out clearly, and then the indigenous crops. It looks like there is also interest in that, and this is quite interesting. But as individuals, do you think the research institutions are really helping the private sector in terms of research? You've already mentioned some things. This was like a trick question, sorry. So do you think over time, is it true that the research institutions have not helped the private sector in terms of research?
Okay, so you can only help where help has been asked. But I think you've heard people say there's a disconnect between the ivory towers. Okay, I'm speaking for universities. I know Carlo is doing better than universities. But so as for a long time, universities have been treated as ivory towers. We've been doing our thing in our ivory towers. Ensure we're doing a lot of research. A lot of research, because we know if in academia, team yesterday said is publish or perish. So we follow that religiously because we have to, So we're generating research, all right. The only thing is that we are not listening to the ground. In Kenya now that is a tagline for politicians, listening to the ground. The ground for the politician is the electorate. For us, the ground is the industry, the farmer, and practitioners in the horticulture sector. Are we listening? Is our research at the university aligning to the needs on the ground? The answer is yes and no. In the past, it was almost no. We were doing our research all right, generating research outputs, academic research outputs, the thesis, the papers, and all conference papers and everything. But here, ground is shifting because for sure we have shattered the ivory towers. We are going to the ground. We're listening to the ground, but we need more listening to the ground. Of course, funds is going to be the limitation, but people are making deliberate effort to, align our research to the industry needs. We work with farmers. Yes, we work with farmers. Some institutions work with farmers. In the past, we used to have a division of research. Now, most of our universities have research and outreach. And that outreach is where we deliberately are going out to the industry, to the farmers especially. Let me not talk about industry, it's a bit vague. To the farmers, to see how do we work in a reiterative manner to, look at what is there, what are their challenges, and how can we address these through research. Of course, the only limitation is fund. Yes, I could know what my farmers we use the hub and spoke model. The hub being the universities, the spoke being the end users of research. We know they need ABCD. I would love to do research, but do I have funds to do that research to address the needs? So that's where the limitation sometimes is. We know the issues, But I mean, and I can't get a bank loan as Jane to fund research to help. I know they need this, but hey, I need funds, right?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Yes, are we doing research? Is it there? I want to say yes. There is practical evidence that National Agricultural Research Organization has been doing research in horticulture, generating many varieties for fruits and vegetables, varieties of bananas, varieties of avocados, vegetable, practical evidence on the ground that NARO is doing a lot of technologies. Apart from National Agricultural Research Organization, there is also evidence that through development funding, Feed the Future being one of them, private sector and NGOs have been working with farmers to generate technologies for irrigation, generate small-scale post-harvest handling. A lot is happening out there. But the question still remains. NARO has been doing research. When I joined NARO, I think it was in the 1996. We got this big project where we brought in so many mangoes, so many citrus, and actually the truth of the matter, through nuts and Operation Wealth Creation, we have disseminated these varieties. The question remains, have the farmers benefited? That's a very big question for us. Are they utilizing it the way we thought they should be utilized? Has it brought money in their pockets? That's the question. But there is evidence. We are taking all these technologies on the ground, and farmers are using them. The problem I'm seeing there is most of these technologies we are putting or researching are project-based. Once we take the varieties there, once we introduce a technology for small-scale irrigation, for example, it is smart. We say it's climate smart. Farmers are using rain-fed agriculture, so let's bring these small irrigation facilities. We take them there, but at the end of the day, once you move out, when Feed the Future moves out, the whole story ends. So, while we are bringing these technologies, are they benefiting the ordinary people? Why is it that when the Feed the Future moves out, they go back to zero? So, Chair, we are doing a lot, but as to whether it's bringing money in the pockets, still another question.
All right, let's hear from Ethiopia.
Okay, thank you. When you say private sector, it includes small-scale farmers and large-scale private farming. We are supporting the small-scale farmers. We developed different technologies in fruit and vegetable and herbs. We don't have responsible organization to multiply seed and planting material. We even support him by giving him initial planting material, seeds. We tried our best with the minimum capacity we have. As I said, it's supported by government, so we address almost all the regions in the country because the research center is based depending on agroecology in all regions. But for the large-scale private farmers, we don't have that much support. We register commercial variety together with seed companies, but their capacity, their level of production is far better than their facilities they have. So that's the large-scale farmers, they have the access to import any technology, seeds, chemicals from abroad. They have capacity and a license to do that. So we are supporting the small scale, but not the large scale private farmers that much. Thank you.
All right. What is coming out clearly is that the research community is trying its best. A lot of technologies are being developed. some research institutions have accepted that in the past they were not doing well, but the effort is now there. They are trying to now close that gap. And it looks like the problem might be with the private sector. I hope we'll have some questions around that. The research community says we are doing our best, but you're not adopting, and you seem to be project dependent. Once the project closes, you forget about that technology. So I hope we will have that discussion when the audience also comes in. My next question was about closing the gap, but I can see that you already started making the effort. You're moving out and you're talking to the private sector and giving them solutions. So I'll skip that because I think we've kind of touched it. In your opinion, what one thing do you think, if it was done, it would really be a game changer in this situation where we think there's a gap? What one thing, just one thing, you think that can really change the situation? I know the situation is improving, so we can think of it in terms of even making it much better. Prof. Ambuko, you'd like to go first? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I should. There's no silver bullet of what is going to change the scenario, but there are many things that we can do. But for me, we have alluded to in this panel, the fact that the disconnect between what we're doing and what is required. And so, going back to what I have already said, that we need to align our research to the needs of the user. I mean, our end user, be it farmer, be it trader, be it processor, and now we're calling the private sector, all the practitioners. So I think one of the things, at least we're doing at University of Nairobi, is deliberate effort to actually get out, engage with the end users. So our students now, we are by force. Before we used to have attachment, and attachment was just attachment. I remember when I was a student and I went for attachment, it was just something you do. Like nobody really cared what it was about, but something you do. It's part of the degree program. But now we have deliberate internship programs where the students actually, because remember we said the disconnect to the industry. Now we actually, instead of waiting for the industry to come to us, we actually are going to the industry and do value proposition. This is what we are. This is what we can do, because we have a wealth of capacity, like you said, the brain. Yeah, people are there. We have universities. The big resource we have is students. And students, if you've been to the University of Nairobi or whichever university, when you defend your research proposal, you are asked, what problem are you addressing? You have to be very specific. And the impact, we as at PhD, the impact. So we are trying to ensure that our research is aligned to the industry. We are connecting our students to the industry through internship programs. We're making because we need to make that connection between research and the industry. It's internship programs. We have deliberate outreach programs, exhibitions, where you bring the industry to the university so that they see what you're doing. We're thinking how to co-create research with the industry. They need this. We can provide this. You heard yesterday Wamboi say, remember we said that there's a lot of wastage at retail, and is Wamboi in the room? No. She actually almost disputed. And she's right, because we don't have any evidence, right? So we take it back to the industry. How do we work together? Generate this evidence so that when we want, because we need policy interventions, those have to be guided by evidence. So we can co-create things, data. They help us. We can research. Help us to do this research. Generate the evidence that is required to turn around the situation. So it can't be universities, you are there. In the industry, you are there. So the industry, sometimes they mock us. Somebody said yesterday, we are behind. They are so advanced. By the time you're talking about this, that is in the past. They moved on. So we have to work together, co-create, complement, to move forward and achieve the desired impact.
Yeah, Chair, I think to have this innovation of overcoming the problem, we need to know where the biggest problem that has been making our farmers not profit very well is. The biggest problem, what I see on the ground now, is profitable markets. Farmers, when they have the varieties, they can grow the crop, but at the end of the day, after growing and putting all these investments, they may not have where to sell their produce or products profitably. So we need a deliberate effort and deliberate innovation to create these markets for these people. Once they have money, when the farmer is assured that he's going to sell and get the money, he will source the technology anywhere. Even if it's on internet, if it's in the US, the farmer will source it. That's what I've learned. So we need a deliberate effort to create the markets for whatever we are promoting, if it's mangoes, if it's citrus, if it's vegetables, whatever. Let them be assured the market is there, that when I produce quality material, it will be bought. And we are proposing in government right now that other than taking research in small components, one takes a variety, another takes irrigation, another takes post-harvest handling. Let's have a holistic package for whatever we are promoting. Don't take only the variety, but take it with a whole package for management until you market. Where a farmer needs input, you need to make sure that inputs and maybe credit is available for the farmer to access whatever he wants to put in that chain. So the model we are trying now to promote, we hope it will solve the problem, is the nucleus farmer model, whereby you have this farmer. It can be a researcher, it can be private sector, it can be anybody. This farm, nucleus farm, has got all the value chain technologies, seed, pesticides, and production, all the agronomic practices, and has even the market. So that other farmers, small ones who cannot access the market, are rotating, are working to feed into the nucleus farm. So this farm, if the farm is able, if the small farmer wants to access inputs or seed, it can be provided by the nucleus farm. If he needs pesticides, it can be provided by the nucleus farm. And at the end of the day, when the farm has produced, he's also assured that the nucleus farm is going to buy these materials, is going to buy the products, whatever. So by using this model, we hope that it will solve the market issue, and the farmer will have the technology and advice, extension advice on the ground, so that we don't wait for the extension who is at the sub-county, but he can get all that information at that level. We hope by using this model, it will improve. So there's private sector, the research is there, the government is there, the credit financing institutions are there, so that the farmer is helped every night in real time. So we hope by doing this, it will work. Even us as researchers, we should stop saying that this technology works. When you've not proved it, go down there and do it. Even the extension, go there and do it. If that variety of tomato works, grow it, produce it, take it to the market, and show me the money you have got it. So if you've not shown me that that variety you're telling me can generate money, how do you expect somebody else to do it? So we need to do deliberate effort to move away from the offices, to move away from our labs, go down on the ground and show this small farmer that, by the way, this thing is profitable. Why am I bringing this? I've been working for bananas for the last 17 years. And we are trying to take bananas in northern Uganda. You know, northern Uganda is very dry, it's very hot, it's very harsh. The environment is just harsh. So bananas need a lot of water. So we took these varieties because we want these people to start growing bananas and get the money.
Oh, this dry season came. They have a dry spell of more than 6 months. By the time the 6 months are over, the banana is not no more. But here I am taking a very good variety, the farm I'm expecting to sell. But I have not handled the dry spell. I have not handled the water issue. So it's like you're not doing anything. So I think we need to take a deliberate effort and go on the ground and test these varieties we are talking to see whether they can make money under the real environment with the whole package.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Nangchinga. You want to add something from Ethiopia on this? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Whatever we are working, the main reason is to change the livelihood of the small-scale farmer and for the consumers to supply this healthy and the safe food and to protect our environment. So whatever technology we have and produce the growers, but if there is any mistake along the value chain, the effort we made, it's not going very well. So we should work for the small-scale farmer. Also, we should make awareness all the input supplier, because sometimes the input supplier, they sell whatever the chemicals, but they don't know even the effect of that chemical. They use the same product we use, their families, and something the transportation, in every step. So creating awareness in all the value chain is important, I think. Mostly the research center working with small-scale farmers, not the service providers with input suppliers. So we should work in all steps, and we should also make sure to get the market. We work. Let me tell you one experience we have. We have one South Korean project working with us. So the focal person from South Korea, he creates market because he contacts the Korean community around Addis, the Korean restaurants. So we group women, we create women associations. They produce organic vegetables. Before they plant those vegetables, they plant. We send the questionnaire to the community and the restaurant what types of vegetables they need, because they want different vegetables than we normally produce, like green onion, kimchi cabbage, and the like. So they order what types of vegetables they need and at what time, for how many times. So we collect that information, we give for the farmers produce that one. Fully organic farming, they integrate with poultry farm, they produce that safe product and they sell for the community. Now that market is increasing. The Japanese also joins us. So if we work all the value chain, we can make changes. Otherwise, it fails somewhere.
Okay, thank you so much, panelists. What is emerging is that the researchers are actually going out to talk to the growers to identify their needs, their strategies, really, even to engage the students in the research cycle. And looking at the complete value chain is very important. The researchers, I think, in the past were thinking that we need to focus on varieties, diseases, irrigation. But the market is also something that you need to look at. We should be able to gauge the size of the market at the moment, who is buying. We need to predict the future in terms of the market. What are the trends? This is something that we need to help the growers with. So this is good. There is normally this problem of funding research. Prof. Ambuko placed it really well. She's not going to go to the bank, borrow money, and do research for the growers. She's passionate about the growers, but that step she's not willing to take. She thinks it's not her responsibility. How do we address the challenge of funding in research? Maybe we could hear from Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda how you're addressing that challenge of accessing money to conduct research. You're passionate about the growers. You want to help them. But where do you get the money? And how do you get it?
Okay, as I said, mainly supported by government, but the government sets priority. By the money I gave, you are working with vegetable, tomatoes, this is food for fruits, this is. So if you want to working like African indigenous vegetable or other types of, we are writing some projects and go to find other source. But the main problem is here is even the government and the donors majorly focus for the so-called food security crops. Even for horticultural crops, the support is much better than for root and tubers, than the fruit, vegetable, herbs. They consider these are the company's crops. The company buys support for the variety development and for the other things. So it's a serious problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so funding is a challenge. We said we are ready to work for local, to generate local knowledge, so local solution, context-specific solutions. So, but funding remains the challenge. I think Dr. Lusike, when she made her framing presentation, she said that, for example, in Kenya, the funding is 0.02%, I think, and that is not for horticulture. That's for the agriculture sector. So I can imagine, I hope I'm right, whatever is for horticulture is 0.00, I don't know what. So funding remains a challenge. I think our immediate former peers in agriculture was in academia. And when he was appointed, we were like, voila, finally, our voice will be heard where they are allocating funds. But I think he went there and he encountered some serious headwinds. So funding from government, I think there has to be, maybe it's us who are failing to make the case, to show government that, you know what, these countries that have developed is knowledge driven. And this knowledge, that is why universities exist. We generate the knowledge, the evidence. Yeah, so maybe we haven't done that because most of our research is actually donor driven. I mean, we are here. We'll be waiting for the call from the Innovation Lab. We will be writing those proposals and we'll do the research. Yes? So we haven't made the case, maybe. Or maybe we haven't, but the government just has refused to listen. Right, I don't know. Because for sure, we shout ourselves hoarse about the need for government to fund research, but it's not happening. So yes, so we have to look for alternatives. That's why you heard me say that now most of the universities are actually deliberately reaching out to the industry. Tell us, what is that? And internship, we'll say students go and look at, work in the industry with the industry partners, identify those problems. They are real issues for the practitioners. Let us now align our research to those issues. Then, instead of us taking our research to them and say, hey, this variety is good, no. That need is already a felt need. So then, I believe, if we push, it's a slow process, so that we actually do a research that is aligned to the industry. The industry should be able to fund us. I think that's what is happening in the developed countries. In the US, I know in South Africa, that's how the research in the universities, the labs are being actually supported by the industry. In Kenya, I know we haven't gotten there. I know Jomo Kenyatta University tried this, where they had their own internal fund, where the researchers competed to generate, for that fund to generate innovations that are owned by the university. But thanks to the capitation, government funding to the university has frozen. So even Jomo Kenyatta, which had a good program, even that has collapsed. So funding remains a challenge, but I think us reaching out to the industry, co-creating products, innovations that the industry needs, then we don't, government still has to fund research, but we need to look for alternative research streams, fund streams.
Yeah, funding is a problem, Chair. And ladies and gentlemen, the government of Uganda is actually trying. Of course, our priority setting may not be very good, but it's trying. Here now is deliberate effort to pay the scientists better, to pay the science teachers better. They are trying. However, the allocation of the budget still is very small, 2%. It is still very small, but it's trying. So I think the way we can overcome this donor dependency in research is to empower the private sector. If the private sector can have money in this horticulture business, they will be able to fund us. International centers like the international research centers in the citrus in Southern Africa, they are funding their research. Why don't we do the same? So my hot fresh chair is there, and the way we are doing it now is to make sure that the way we are doing it, the horticulture sector for flowers, they are funding most of these activities. We want also for the fruits and vegetables to see that the private sector makes money out of this horticulture business, and they start funding some of these key things. We've had examples of testing for IPM in controlling some of these pests in horticulture. So we think that's the way to go. Horticulture, private sector, make money, and then you fund some of these key things in the horticulture business. I think that's the way to go. Otherwise, the donors, private partners, for some time you still have to continue funding us because we are not there yet. We are making our house in order, but we are not there yet. We are Oliver Twist, more and more and more and more. You give us more, but we shall get there.
All right. What is coming out clearly is that governments are trying. But of course, when you look at the GDPs, it's still, there's little they can do. It's still not enough. So the private sector should grow. It's really a tough situation. And also when government gives you money, I think we've heard from Ethiopia, there are strings attached to work on this, and this. Yeah, it's not easy. The donor community, apparently, there is little focus on horticulture. It's always you hear beans, maize, food security. Yeah? It would be nice to move to also horticulture. There are internal funds. I talked about an example yesterday on how we are working with the flower industry in Uganda. It's funding from the university, but of course it's coming from government of Uganda. So we worked together with the Uganda Flowers Exporters Association. We looked into their strategic plan, and we saw they had a challenge. They need to increase the range of species that they trade in. So that's how we got into this research. The audience, so many things have been said here. I don't know if you agree. We would like to hear from the audience. What's your experience with research? Do you feel the gap? Is the research community really addressing your problems? Are you willing to fund research? How can we deal with this challenge of funding research?
Last week I was in Nigeria visiting some universities, and the sad thing was that all the Nigeria's universities lecturers are on strike. So I was talking to the vice chancellors, Amara University and University of Illinois, and I asked them why. And they said, our benefits. And I said, what benefit? They said, our salaries are low. So in our conversation, the research funding came, and I said, when are researchers going to go on strike? That government is not giving us enough money for research. You know, I think Tim is here, Baroque, BFAB, and other things. They are advocacy group that are always advocating, you know, for the government to allocate money. Innovation Lab is a big grant from USA, isn't it? About 70 universities are getting that funding every round. But it doesn't just come. It comes because people are working with the senators, people are working with the congressional delegates, people are working with the government, so that during the budget cycle, you know, they allocate funds for research. We Africans don't do it. When you see university professors and lecturers going on strike, it's their own self. Either their car allowance or their book allowance or, you know, their feeding allowance. One day I want Jane and the researchers to go on strike and tell the government that we don't have enough. I think we haven't prioritized research, you know, and we haven't made it a policy. We are working on a project called Evidence Gap Map, and we have done one for Uganda, you know, and we are doing one for Kenya. And we took all the government priority programs and we took the SDG goals. And we were doing crossed up to see which areas that research have been done. And if you see Kenya evidence gap, you will cry. You will cry. You know, you take the SDG, you take the government priority program, and you see where are the research gaps. It's a big hole. You can drive trailers through them. You know, and we haven't done it. Most of the research we do are driven by donors. You know, and as Tim was yesterday talking about it, you know, most of our research are for our own promotion, to get published. And then we get our professorship. We got our associate professorship. But that is something that we have to work on. So I was telling Mary, maybe it's time for the research community to form an advocacy group so that we can advocate the national government to allocate resources for funding.
Thank you. Researchers create advocacy group to solicit funds. Be brief. To the point and brief.
Yes, thank you very much. I want to add my voice on what is trending. That is youth inclusion in the sector value chain development, and a focus attention given to the women, especially because of the fundamental role they play in the development agenda. I have noted that research is actually doing a good job, but I thought this research and technology development is supposed to be demand and market driven. I am afraid that you have mentioned that there is a very low uptake, adoption of these technologies. So the question is, I thought you should be informed and should be evidence-based to develop certain technologies that would indeed contribute to development. So where is the problem, and what is being done to harness and address such gaps?
Thank you. Where is the problem? There was one more hand here. We'll take those four and then you'll respond. Other questions can be discussed after later on.
Yeah, thank you very much. As a farmer and a farmer cooperative society, I can confirm that since we formed a cooperative society, we got so many stakeholders, donors, and also the university working with us. They have actually come to the ground, so many of them. But I want to emphasize on the point of it's good for the researchers to start with the farmer. Come to the farm, identify their needs and challenges, so that now you can work from there. The same way we are saying, let's start with the market and then the production. So start with the farmer and then now your research. For example, when we started, we had zero investment in our organization. As we are talking now, the investments, buildings and whatever we have there is over Kenya shillings 7 million. But are those assets useful to the farmers? Are they generating income to them throughout? You find in our case, yes, they are good facilities, they are helpful, but only with a window when we are only harvesting. That's when they are useful to us. So whatever you are coming to do, start with the farmers, identify exactly what do they want to do. And actually the issue is the farmer needs more money, profit in the pocket. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jane said, co-create knowledge, demand-driven, start with the farmer. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, panel, for this interesting insights of research. Talking from a private sector point of view, I think it would be really good if the private sector had more insight in the ongoing research per country. So maybe we could develop a platform that is accessible for us as private sector to see which research you are doing at the different institutes on horticultural crops. Because that's how we basically can link up as private sector with our own research. The budgets for instance, the breeders that we are working with as a Ugandan company. I give you an example. and the minimum research budget for a vegetable seed breeder in the Netherlands is 4% of their annual turnover. So that means that most of those companies have 350 million turnover on annual base. So that means that their minimum budget on variety improvements is at least 15 million euros. And that's one of the reasons why the vegetable breeders in the Netherlands are in the top 10 of the world. And I'm sometimes wondering, I see research going on in Uganda on variety improvements, for instance, in tomatoes. And I see then the research being done by private sector in the Netherlands. And I think, what are we doing? That research on the tomatoes in Uganda, that money could have been spent on more important crops, where for instance, on indigenous vegetables. So we should, I think, prioritize our research budgets better. I think there's also more opportunity, like co-creation between the research that's being done abroad and the research has been done in East Africa and Ethiopia, because there is a will. I've tried several times to connect the Dutch breeders with institutes in Uganda, and unfortunately I keep on failing. I don't want to go too much in details, because actually it will upset me if I start talking about it. And I will keep on trying, because I think it's very important to co-create together as private sector, not only within the region but also outside the region. Then in regard of private sector financing research, I think it's hurtful to hear that. It's not that we are not willing, but we are also taxpayers. Yes, and especially the companies that are actually dealing in a formal way. So we are good taxpayers. We are being competed non-stop by 80% of the non-taxpayers, the people that are still dealing in fake agro inputs, in expired agro inputs. If government could basically assist in cleaning up those entrepreneurs and make sure that the ones that are not paying their taxes start paying their taxes, I think there would also be more money available from government for research.
Thank you. Over to Dr. Kelanti.
All right. Thank you for the comments. I don't know if we have enough time to address each one of them, but we can keep discussing even after this. There was the issue of advocacy. We need to go on strike as researchers. Please don't relay this information to Uganda. A warning letter might be waiting for me. So, all right. So what can we do about this? Could this be maybe an outcome of this workshop? We say that at the end of the day we are going to have an advocacy group for research so that we can approach government, and we request for a supplementary budget for research, things like that. Do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, of course the idea of advocacy is there, but for Kenya, I think Professor Hutchinson was here, our Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research. I remember there's a time actually they presented a paper to cabinet about the need for research. You see, it's not, I believe even if yes, we can do this advocacy thing, but there has to be goodwill. The government has to actually appreciate that we need research. Because even if we form the lobby group, of course, we strike for money, for our salary. Yeah, but that one, the government knows that if they don't pay, we'll down the tools and, the whole, yeah. But they know this one, even if they don't put in the research, the university business will still go on, So it is, we could do that, but I can tell you there have been efforts by our, the universities to actually lobby lobby for research funds from a high level as cabinet, those committees. Yeah, there has to be goodwill, you know what I'm saying? There has to be goodwill, because even if we do, until and unless there is political goodwill.
Yeah, I think this goodwill is really emerging. Yeah, you keep seeing it. Yes, good.
Yeah, I think, Chair, you may agree with me in Uganda that already there is some advocacy. Although it looks like silent, but it's advocacy at high level in Parliament, and that's why we are seeing all these changes. However, we need to do more. We just need to do more. And as we are doing more, you bear with us. I want to answer one of the question that one of my participants from Uganda was saying, where is the gap? Of course, the gaps are quite many. Yeah. Because as we are doing horticulture and taking research, there are so many other factors. There are so many other things we don't have control over. For example, I can bring this technology in place, but I've not handled the other issues on the infrastructure on the ground. I've not handled many other things. So all those other things that are out of my control as a researcher. For example, if I don't have the credit finances, how will I handle that? If I don't have the proper roads to make sure this farmer takes the product to the market, all those other things, those are all gaps. So that's why we are advocating for a holistic approach when you are handling these research-based technologies. As you are taking your variety, make sure that all these other things